What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I'm looking ahead to One on Prime Video 16, which goes down in the Lumpini Boxing Stadium over in Bangkok in Thailand on November 3rd. Obviously featured on Amazon Prime and in the US and in Canada. In the UK, you can watch it on the One Championship website, and also I believe on YouTube as well. So very, very handy and easy to watch. And I'm going to break down that card today. There's a few MMA fights on it. There's a big MMA fighter, obviously, in the main event, and some grappling and other things as well. But before we get into that, I just wanted to touch on something I heard in the last week or so. And it's a talking point that I've talked about in these shows relentlessly almost over the last while. And I actually heard Joe Rogan talking, I can't remember exactly who he was talking to about it, but he was talking about Muay Thai and making it maybe a bigger thing in the US, maybe even like the UFC bringing in Muay Thai, and he was kind of like, begging Dana White to do it in a very funny way and all that. And he was saying, like, this could be the biggest thing. This could be something that gets people involved. And I involved as fans and everything like that. And I actually have very big opinions on this, because my opinion up until a few years ago was like, nah, there's no gap in the market. We have boxing, we have MMA. Do we need like an in-between sport, whether it's kickboxing? And mostly kickboxing was my opinion at that time. Or Muay Thai, which is similar but different. And we'll talk about that maybe in a second. But and this could be a whole other podcast, so I'm just going to have a couple of minutes on it. Maybe we could discuss it more in future. But I was the guy who was like, nah, I'm not going to watch that. It's boring. It's not great. And now, since I've been watching more One Championship cards, and since One Championship been putting on more kickboxing, and especially Muay Thai fights, I think Muay Thai is better. I just think it is. I think it's more exciting. I think it's better for the fans and everything like that. But since I've been putting them with the MMA fights, as we've been talking about a lot in recent videos, I've just grown to like really like them. And even though like there's a couple of people like Haggerty fighting on this and a few others who you look at and you think, oh god, that guy's fighting, I'm going to be watching. It feels like almost every time you tune into a card, for someone like me, I've never really heard of this person before, and then it's really fun and exciting to draw you in anyway, just because the spectacle, the sport, the Muay Thai itself is like really fun, and in the 4-ounce gloves as well, in the cage. I just think it's really, really, really good. But I think for the UFC to have success with it, right, I think they don't need to go insane. I don't think it doesn't need to be the next UFC. It doesn't need to be anything like that. I think they could put on a few fun fights and a few fun cards, like, put a few fun fights like what Championship do, but do it, if they wanted to do it, in the Apex or wherever it might be, every so often, and treat it like you treat the power slap rubbish, right? People would watch that. People would get hooked when they watch it, and they'd watch it again because it's so easily consumable and so fun. And that is where One Championship actually have taken the lead, and where they have an advantage here in terms of that side of it, because they have done exactly that. And I really think people enjoy it. I'm one of those people myself, right? I had no interest in kickboxing or Muay Thai or anything before, and now I look forward to these fights. I'll be tuning in. Like if this was before and I saw a Muay Thai fight at the top of a card, and let's say there's 10 fights in it, and there's 9 MMA fights and the Muay Thai fight at the top, I'd be watching the 10 and I'd be turning off my TV. But now I'm like interested in this. I went back and I watched a few of the fights, and I tried to study them a little bit. I still obviously don't have the understanding for this as I had for MMA or the love for it or anything, but I really do enjoy it. And I think what Rogan was saying about like if the UFC decided to do it, it could catch on. But I think One Championship, what they are doing is really, really good, and I do think people are catching on. And the more, our duty as people covering the sport is to tell people like, hold on, this is out there, this is the truth, this is fun, this is, this is good, this is bad, whatever it might be. But I would say it if it was bad. I thought it was bad before, and I said it was bad before, but it's good. I really like it. It's fun. It's good fights, and I do think Rogan is onto something, to be honest. So, with that said, let's get into the card. So on this card, I'm going to concentrate obviously mainly on the MMA fights as I always do. This is Sherdog is an MMA website, and I'm an MMA person and all that. But just to go through some of the other bouts on it, obviously the main event is, which I'll talk about more in a second, is the Bantamweight Kickboxing World Championship, which has the champ from MMA, Fabricio Andrade, on it against Jonathan Haggerty. The co-main event is a Grappling Submission World Championship between Ruotolo and Ahmed Abdulkadirov. The other non-MMA fights on it, we have Sheehan against Jonathan Estupian at 140 pounds in a catchweight bout there. There's a kickboxing bout between Zhang Paiman and Ruotolo. Sinsamut is back on this card against Liam Nolan as well in the Muay Thai fight. And the other kickboxing match is Supergirl, who's obviously very entertaining, against Christina Morales. Just a quick few words on the top two bouts, and then we'll get into the mixed martial arts. I'm pretty excited about this Haggerty versus Andrade bout. Like, Haggerty, I've gone back watching him, especially like his last few wins. And I must say as well that this is kickboxing, right? So you have Haggerty, who's mostly a Muay Thai guy, fighting obviously Andrade, who's mostly an MMA guy in kickboxing. So there's, obviously it's going to favour Haggerty in terms of he's fighting a stand-up discipline. But it's very different. And he's a very kind of elbow leading fighter, close, those close in Muay Thai kicks, which aren't as useful and as applicable in or in some cases some of those shots banned in kickboxing. So he's going to have to fight a different way. And how will he adjust? Like, I think the distance management and the ability to fight at different areas is the biggest difference in the sports. We talk about it all the time with boxing and MMA and boxing and boxing. It's the length, it's the angles and all of that is the big issue. And it feels like they both have to adjust here a little bit now. Now, I went back and I looked and Haggerty, it seems to be all Muay Thai now. He might have a few kickboxing matches in there as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is mostly he is a Muay Thai type of guy. Watching Andrade is obviously in MMA a lot of stand up in his game, but to me the way, he'll need a big adjustment too. The way he fights with the low hand, quick, powerful striker, who will, if he sees you're hurt, he will go for you and he'll throw shot after shot after shot. Right, that last part is grand. The first part about the low hands, quick, powerful, will that work as well with the bigger boxing gloves, which I believe is what's going to be used here? The Muay Thai, they do the 4-ounce gloves. I believe they do the big kickboxing gloves with the kickboxing. Will that be as good or as applicable? Like, why are you holding your hands down, giving Haggerty something to hate, while while you have the ability to use those big gloves to kind of hide behind and not let him hit you. Big issue there. Big adjustment. A big adjustment I think needed for Haggerty as well. And who will win? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not a massive kickboxing expert. I would probably lean towards Haggerty in this one. But one thing I will definitely lean towards is it being fun. The other big one in the co-main event is Ruotolo against Magomed Abdulkadirov. Studied a bit of Abdulkadirov. Obviously, he's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Came up in Dagestan, and he's had a tough life, and he was taken in kind of early by the what would you call it? I suppose. I don't know, is it an Olympic team type of thing, but like the youth national sports team in Dagestan. He did a bit of sambo and a bit of everything, to be honest, and looks like he's a guy who's been through the ringer, in life, and a very talented submission grappler as well. But obviously these Ruotolo brothers just seem to be a different level. In Ty's last fight, and his brother as well, even, if it feels like, they're throwing him in against guys like the sambo guys or good wrestlers and things, and I feel like the Ruotolo brothers, more than anything else, have kind of been roughed up a lot, and it really hasn't worked against them. And I wonder what the tactic is the tactic almost has to be, I'm going to rough him up and I'm going to take him out of the jiu-jitsu game, but it is jiu-jitsu at the end of the day. So what do you do? Again, I'm not giving you a massive breakdown of a jiu-jitsu match here. There's bigger experts out there to me, and in fact, experts out there. I'm no expert in any way in jiu-jitsu, but I just, do you know what I wonder? Because I've watched a lot of these now. I've probably watched, I don't know, how many have I watched? I don't know, 50 of them? Maybe not that much. But over the last couple of years of this specific sort of style, the kind of the jiu-jitsu whiz against a very good wrestler, very good sambo guy. And nobody, I think, has been able... Look, they've either gone in there and they've just got destroyed, or they've gone in there and they've tried to rough him up and it hasn't worked. I wonder will someone else try something differently? Like, that's probably the move. You're not going to beat a guy doing the exact same thing as the last 2 or 3 guys did and lost, So I suppose that's the key here for me for Abdulkadirov. Like, what can he do to get past Ruotolo? Let's see. But a BJJ black belt in his own right and all of that as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Right, let's get to the mixed martial arts. And there are some very fun bouts here. Like, there was a chat recently as well about One Championship and about, like, and I think we discussed it last time. I think Chachi was kind of saying, we have the best in Muay Thai and kickboxing and MMA and all that. And a lot of people were saying, well, you maybe you have in Muay Thai and kickboxing, but not necessarily in MMA, but also saying, like, it's easier to be a well-rounded organization when you have all of those sports rather than the other organizations who have only the one. And that's true, but also One Championship have chose to do that and the other organizations have chosen not to do that. So, the spoils of war go to the people who have made the right choice. But the point is, I actually think, like, the smaller roster of MMA fighters leads to, like, some very even matchups. It feels like everyone's on a very similar level. And even and it's, you know what? It's a pretty good level. And the guys that come in, I think there's a lot of young, good heavyweights that have come into One Championship over the last while. And we'll talk about a heavyweight fight here again in a second that I am massively looking forward to. But you just look at a lot of these guys and think, okay, this guy could go a long, long way. And that's like, that mightn't get the credit it deserves. And I feel like I'm promoting One Championship here now, but it is true. Like, I really believe that. So let's get into some of these fights here. First off, let's talk about Halil Amir versus Ahmed Mujtaba, which is in the lightweight division. Halil Amir, very strong wrestler, loves the Dagestani handcuff, great ground and pound, just picks lads up by the hips, hauls them around, but his striking is so good. I remember watching him a couple of fights ago and I think, he's a very good wrestler. He comes out and he just strikes a guy to pieces. I was like, I'm gonna have to rewatch some of this guy. Like, his leg kicks are very good, and he, like, what I love about him, he can out-wrestle a guy for the whole fight if he wants, and he can out-strike a guy for the whole fight if he wants, and you don't see that much. Now, as I said, he is probably more of a striker, but when I see that wrestling in there as well, and I see how good he is at it, I'm like, you have it all, why not use it all? But lovely left hand, obviously fighting at a southpaw position. He's very well known for his knee. The one thing I would say, he doesn't react amazingly to pressure. He gets pushed against the cage relatively easily, but he does turn and get out. He's very good against the cage, and you know what? He's very good on the ground as well in terms of a jiu-jitsu battle. Went to war last time out with a bevy. Just that BJJ battle was just fantastic. He nearly won by guillotine. He nearly won by Suluev's stretch. It was just it was a very fun one. If you haven't seen that, it's a very, very fun one to watch. You look at his record, 9-0 in that division, you're probably thinking he's a guy who's going right to the top very, very quickly. When you beat a baby, you beat Nastyukin in the fight before that. They're putting you in here against, one of their other good up-and-comers, and a win here should vault him up. Obviously, Ahmed Mujtaba had a setback in his last fight, losing to a very quick Sage Narcut submission with the heel hook. But as I think coming into that fight, I gave him a big build up, and a lot of people did. And obviously, when you're submitted in 39 seconds, you don't get to show too much. But this guy is a good fighter. good power, these straight shots down the middle. He fought Raju a couple of fights ago, just KO'd him with a massive punch. And I was thinking, going into the Sage fight, I was like, if he if he catches him with that shot, he's in bad trouble. Not the best defensive striking, I would say. He does get caught. He's a okay jab. But wrestling is what he wants to do first. Good head pressure, very calm. His pace of striking is a lot slower than most people at the lighter divisions, I suppose, but he's good trips inside. One of his fights he won by a triangle with both the leg and the arm in, so it shows you on the ground as well how good he is. I think this is a fight that massively favours Halil Amir after giving Mujtaba the big build up there, and I think he deserves it because he's not a bad fighter, and that 39-second submission to Sage Narco doesn't reflect the reality of the situation. If you just see that and you think, he got submitted by Sage, he's no good. Not true at all. But I do think Halil Amir has a higher ceiling at 9-0 as well. He hasn't tasted defeat yet, and I don't think he will here. I think, look, when you're a guy like Mujtaba, you see him and you see the defensive striking issues. I think that is something that Halil Amir will take advantage of. Plus, you saw what happened to him against Sage. If you take him down quickly and submit him, or get him into a submission battle, he can fall there too. And we saw how good Halil Amir's submission game was recently. He's only won one fight by submission, but I think that's a stat that will rise and rise as we go through the years. Mujtaba has a few submission wins of his own. That was the first time. Sorry, no, not the first time he's ever submitted. He was submitted a couple of times before that, but he's won 5 of his 9 fights by submission as well. So, with Mujtaba, he's not going to be an easy out anywhere, I don't think. But I also think he's not necessarily better than Halil Amir anywhere, and I'm definitely going for Halil Amir to win that fight. Right, next fight I am looking at here is Mangbo against Miura. Very interesting fight, this one. Mangbo obviously has been around for a very, very long time. She's 27 fights into her career now. She's fought the who's who really over and one championship, from Rita Fogat and Tiffany Teo to, she's been just around in different organizations as well for years and years and years, having made her debut 10 years ago against Zhang Weili, funnily enough, where she won. And I think now is the time for her, 27 years of age, to go on that run again, get back towards that championship. But Miura is, 16 fights in her career, 33 years of age. And it's funny, like, she's, 6 years older than her, but it feels like she's the up-and-comer again. And, that tends to happen sometimes. But, she hasn't been on the greatest run recently. She's lost, 3 of her last 4, losing to Tiffany Teo and, the champ, Xingnan Zhang as well. I just, when you watch tape on Miura, you can't help but see how amazing of an athlete she is. And it's actually very rare we see athletes this good in, whether it's the men's or women's side of mixed martial arts, but she really stands out. A very good wrestler, tremendous jiu-jitsu, brilliant when you get on the ground, but she again has that problem. Do you know what she reminds me a little bit of? Gunny Nelson, right? Unbelievable jiu-jitsu. If she can get you to the ground, she's going to beat you. But when she can't get you to the ground, when she can't get you to the ground, she's flummoxed, and that's why I said good wrestler but not amazing wrestler. Against Xingnan Zhang, she went 25 minutes and she didn't take her down. Or if she did, she popped back up and she pushed her against the cage all the time and all that. Big issue. But if she can get you down, unbelievable. She loves the scarf holds, the kimuras, the Alexei Olnik type of upper third body submissions and control. She's a 3rd degree black belt. Really, really, really good fighter. Just really good on the ground. The striking, there isn't a whole pile there. She can throw her basic shots. Not amazing, but she needs the submission. Like, you look at her record, 11 wins, 4 decisions, 7 submissions, none by knockout. That's what she needs to do here against Mangbo. And for Mangbo, at the other side of it, then, she spreads them around 8 KOs, 6 submissions, 7 decisions. And her game is well-rounded. I would say a lot more well-rounded than Miura. She's a nice jab. She's a lovely, both outside and inside leg kick, but a very patient fighter. And it's funny, she's the type of fighter, and I said this a few times talking about Meng before, but she's very patient at times, and when I say at times, in certain fights, and in other fights, she just bombs away type of thing. I think this is a fight where she's going to be more patient. Like, people are very slow to strike with her and end up trying to take her down, and that's exactly what's going to happen here, to be honest, but I'm sure she will want to get the fight striking. She builds into a fight. She's not the fastest starter in the world. Throws that hard right down through the middle. Lovely double jab as well. And the right hand that comes after it is very, very good as well. She's a very good defensive fighter. And I've described her wrestling before as very, very good up until a certain point. You know, she can wrestle with you. She can grapple with you. But it feels like if someone chain wrestles against her for long enough, they might be able to get her down. Now, that is the key battle in this fight. That really is the key battle in this fight. If Miura can take the fight down, if Meng can keep the fight up, one will win and one will lose. You have to be, I've said this before, you have to be brave to beat Meng. You have to be willing to take a few shots inside. You have to be willing to be tossed around, maybe land on your back against her. Miura will be happy enough to do that. She's very, very happy to fight someone off of her back. She can get takedowns from all over the place. But I favour Meng in this fight. But the second she gets taken down, I no longer favour her. But the pick is definitely Meng coming into this one. 2 more MMA fights in, and I really like both of these fights. The first one I'm going to talk about is the strawweight fight between Jeremy Miado and Lito Adiwang. Again, a rematch of a fight they had. When was the fight? I'll find that out if you're here in a second. But a very interesting fight that one was. I went back and I watched the whole thing earlier on, and it was a fight that was just getting going in the middle of the second round. You know, it was in 2022, so just 18 months ago, March 2022, and it was a knee injury, literally almost 3 minutes into the second round. And as I said, just getting going. Adiwang got injured, and Miado ended up winning the fight. Like, to me, the fight went like this. 2 action fighters did not get the upper hand in the action fight debate, let's put it that way. And then they both kind of like, oh, how is this going to play out? and it was, I you know what, I really, really enjoyed it. But it was a fight that I think could be very different this time. Miado, as I said, action fighter, lovely combinations, lovely uppercuts. He's in and out movement. He rushes in with power in every shot, but he leaves himself open, and he's known for that big flying knee, which he didn't quite land in the first fight against Adiwang. Adiwang then, he's more, if Miado is in and out, he's more bouncy on his feet, very fast. Combinations again. And when you see anyone fighting out to those red shorts of Team Lakai, you know what's coming. You know the hard leg kicks, the power, the all-out aggression is coming. This was, it was a Filipino versus Filipino fight. I think it was in the Philippines the last time, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check that again. Was it in the Philippines? Was One X in the Philippines? It wasn't. No, it was in Singapore. But I'm sure there was a lot of Filipinos there, and it sure sounded like there was. But and I'm sure there will be a few in again to watch this, and they will get a big reception from it. But they're like carbon copies of each other in terms of fighters. As I said, action fighter, combos, speed, they're very, very similar. The first fight, look, lots of leg kicks from both in that first fight. Adiwang was probably landing the better counters early, but then Miado took him down. Adiwang also got a takedown in the later part of the fight. Miado seemed more comfortable, though, on the ground than in the transitions. And then obviously the leg injury happened. He rolled his ankle, maybe Achilles or whatever it was, and the fight obviously ended. Honestly, who am I picking going into this one? I'm probably picking Miado, even though I said early in the fight Adiwang was winning. But the more and more the fight kind of grew, I thought Miado was not necessarily taking over, but getting more control. And when the second fight starts and there's no longer that, oh, how is this guy going to fight? I've never been across the way from this guy before. This is a bit weird. That doesn't exist in the second one. I think that will suit Miado. Now, as I said, this video is called Preview and Picks, and I have to give my picks. I don't know who'll win this fight. I really don't. My pick is Miado. I think he's a slightly better fighter. I think he was just about to go on and win the last fight, although, as I said, very close. I think the transitions on the ground will help. I think if he avoids the fast striking of Adiwang early and turns into a more technical matchup, I think he's better there, and that's how I think he'll win the fight. And in the last MMA fight is a fight I absolutely love. This is an old school heavyweight fight as you can get. Kang Ji-won against Benjamin Tynan. Tynan coming out of Canada. I believe he was, it says in his Instagram bio anyway, he was a Canadian wrestling champion. He's 4-0 as a pro after going 4-0 as an amateur as well. All of those fights have been finished, and he is a wrestler. Kang Ji-won has lost only one fight. He's 6-1, and that fight was to Buchecha, who took him down and submitted him pretty quickly. But look at the wins he has. He's beaten Amir Ali Akbari, just sparked him. Paul Elliott sparked him. This guy, he's my type of fighter. He is my type of fighter. I really, really, really like him. Again, a talented athlete, southpaw striker. He went toe-to-toe with Paul Elliott. Like, who goes toe-to-toe with Paul Elliott? Everyone's like, take him down and you beat him on the ground. Like, you don't go toe-to-toe with him, but he did and sparked him. If he gets this striking, it's over. He will knock out Tynan. No shred or doubt in my mind about it. He has insane power, and he, if you know me, this is a massive compliment. He moves like Wonder Boy. For a heavyweight, moves on the outside so good. Look, in that Buchecha fight, he's wrestling, didn't look amazing, and that's exactly what Tynan wants to do. He fought Will Johnson last time out, to Ben Tynan, who's a Bellator vet, got dropped a few times, didn't look amazing defensively on the feet. Well, look, he was throwing a few right hands down the middle that didn't look bad, but defensively, as I said, an issue. Needs to improve that if he's going to climb to that next level. But, like, it's hard to not call him a real good prospect in the heavyweight division, considering how good his wrestling is, considering, I suppose, the athletic base he has, and how I suppose young he is in the sport and undefeated. Very good wrestling, great control on ground and pound though. He trains with Curtis Blades, I believe, in that camp. Very high ceiling, but very, 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 very green. I honestly don't know who's going to win this. This is like your... this is like your heavyweight boxer fighting your wrestler. If he can land that one knockout blow before he gets taken down, he will win. I think he will. I'm gonna go for Kang Ji-won to win this one. I think he will stay off the ground for a while, and he will land a big shot and he'll knock him out. Tynan needs to immediately wrestle him, like immediately. If this stays on the feet for 90 seconds, I'm almost 100% sure that Kang Ji-won will knock him out. He's that good. This guy's amazing. But Tynan is a wrestler, and amazing strikers have been beaten by many, many wrestlers down through the years, and it may be another one here. But I'm going to throw my bias in here. I've my striker bias that everyone hears me talking about. Judge always says I have, and I'm going to go for Kang Ji-won to win this one over at One Championship. All right, everybody, that is it from me for the preview today. Check the card out over on Amazon if you're in the US or in Canada. Check it out on YouTube or on the One Championship website if you are in the UK or Ireland. And across the world, obviously, the One Championship website is the place to find out where you can watch this wonderful card. Stay tuned to Sherdog.com as well for more content from me and all the rest of the lads. Shout out to John Brannigan and all the guys over at Sherdog. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I'll see you all next time.